I didn't want to be an actor. It didn't occur to me that. I wanted, when I got to Cambridge, to do comedy, which I did. But actually, when I was 16, I went to the Avignon Theatre Festival with a chum, and we stayed, and we were doing a course in something or other in French. And I saw a production of Racine's Andromaque, and I saw it so many times. It was so brilliant. I also think I saw it so many times because all the actors took their clothes off in it at one point, and they were all just gorgeous. So I think that had something to do with it. But I remember writing to my father, I think I was about 16. I said, I think I'm going to have to do something in this area. Because I suppose, having been brought up by actors who are often very humane with children, and don't talk down to them, don't treat them as though they've come from some other country, or even that they're silly or don't have much to say for themselves. Actors are very encouraging, I think, towards children. They've just sort of retained some compassion for their own early days, perhaps. So, yes, I think I knew that. But then when I got to Cambridge, I was studying English literature. I was wanting to write, and I'd also seen Lily Tomlin in an extraordinary piece written by a woman called Jane Wagner called Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe, where Lily Tomlin plays lots of different characters, some of them male, actually. She was really a forerunner to, there's B. Lily, there's Ruth Draper, there are all these incredible female comedians who somehow expanded the idea of the female for me, because I certainly didn't inhabit any of the romantic ideals. That just didn't work for me at all. So, yeah, I was going to be a comedian until I was at least 27, which is when I first acted.
So I interviewed Stephen Fry for this podcast, and he told me that he met this very smart woman when he was at university, and he thought she was bonkers when she, and I'm paraphrasing here because it wasn't a while ago, she was riding a bicycle and she took her hat off and she had crazy red shaved hair, or just a shaved head.
Shaved head.
And that you would make the cars stop. And he was like, okay, this is probably the best person ever. And he also told me that you were the person that introduced him to Hugh.
Yeah.
And that he came in and she said, hello. And then, and they just went, they were off.
Yeah.
And so
they were married in seconds.
Yeah, he said it was like love at first sight.
Yeah,
it just
was.
happened. So what was that like? What was your time like, as part of the Footlights, but also kind of making television and being a part of the group that was Fry and Laurie, but also the Footlights, and that experience was some real gems that came out of that generation. So what was that?
Well, it's a mishmash, because I met Hugh in my first term, and he was studying archaeology, I think, something like that. Around the corner from me, I was at Newnham, and Stephen was dead posh at Queen's and had the nicest rooms I'd ever seen, ever, with sort of mullioned windows. And, I was in a women's college, which, as Virginia Woolf so brilliantly describes in Arthur's Education, they didn't turn the heating on till mid-November. You were always ill, always cold, because women's colleges had no money. And you really did feel like the second-class citizen as a woman at Cambridge. And yet, our tutors were just extraordinary. My favourite teacher, Jean Gooder, who's my tutor at Cambridge, I'm still in touch with, and she's just got this incredible mind. And that was as influential to me as, of course, meeting the boys, but they were my contemporaries, and they were, remarkable, absolutely remarkable. Stephen he's a little bit older than us. I think he's a couple of years older, and I think he joined the Footlights the following year. But I think I must have introduced him and Hugh in our first year. And then Hugh and I were in the panto, the first panto, which was Aladdin, and I was in my mother's fishnet tights and a pair of suede boots and an old shirt with a belt, just classic, and Hugh was playing the Emperor of China. And I remember, I have very, very clear memories of the fun of it. And a mate of mine actually ran the Footlights that year. He was still he was president. So he got us all together and we did our first review. And the great thing about the reviews were that they were semi-professional in the sense that we used to do them in the theatre, the Arts Theatre, but then in the summer we would take them on tour and then to Edinburgh. So we would tour at theatres like Peterborough and Stevenage and all of that. We'd go all over the shop, and we were paid for that.
Wow.
So we earned money, a little bit of money, and then we'd go to the Fringe, absolutely. And those were absolutely magical times, really magical, because we all were pretty happy, and we were doing it for fun, you know. We weren't doing it to wait for people to come and see and pick us up, and it wasn't for that reason. We were doing it because it was really, really good fun.